And I'll just go now. Start. Continue. Right. And we're live now, Rob.
Okay. Robert has it. Welcome everyone along today for our first meeting under this format. This should be interesting. And I'd just like to ask all members and attendees to stand for the condolences for Bob Inder, Wayne Ferguson, Lynn McNeely, Lynn Morris, Andy McDonald, Digger Crichton. Thank you very much. Can I please have someone move the confirmations of the previous meeting's minutes, please?
Stu here, I'll do that.
Duncan.
Duncan here, I'll second that.
Stu Duncan, Duncan Helm. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, thank you. Look, where have I gone? Just like to remind members to declare any interest they feel they have in any of the agenda and topics to be discussed later on in the meeting. All right. Maniototo Community Board Annual Plan. Who do we have with that? Jotham and Leanne.
Leanne here, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Leanne.
Jotham here, good afternoon.
How are you, Jotham?
Good.
So if it pleases the board, I'm going to take the paper as read and just do a brief reminder of where we've been to and where we hope to get to, and then I'll hand it over to Jotham. So we went out to consultation with the proposed average rates increase of 4.9%. And as you recall at the time, this was very much a no-frills budget. However, since then COVID-19's hit and the feedback we've received, plus meeting with the exec committee, staff were tasked to revisit the budgets. And so we've worked on that, and we're coming to you today with a paper around those changes. And I'm going to hand over to Jotham now to take you through a presentation detailing that a little bit further. So thank you.
Thank you, Leanne.
Jotham here. So I'll just take you through a few slides of what we've done since we last met in February. So this is a recap of what we presented to Council in February. As Leanne mentioned, we showed this slide, and allowing for growth of 2.6%, we had an average per rateable unit increase of 4.9% across the district. So this is what staff recommended to the Maniototo Community Board. It was an overall increase after adjustments of 137,000 compared to current year annual plan. So this on average was an increase of $75 to the Maniototo ratepayers. So following the direction from the executive committee to revisit the annual plan figures, staff have proposed to reduce the budget by 85,000. The current slide shows the breakdown of that 85,000. 60,000 has been postponed of the detailed seismic assessment to 2021-2022. We are proposing to reduce the grants budget by 52%, which is 19,000, and the LTP costs, we are proposing to apportion that over the next 3 years instead of having it hit us in 1 year. So that's what makes up the 85,000. Then with these proposed changes in the previous slide, it brings our rates income down by the 85K. So from 923,000 to now what you see as the 847,000. So the average rate per unit is down by $44. So from, if you look at the bottom figure, the average dollar per unit, that has gone down from 533 to now 489. The next slide is just a representation of rates income from each ward. Assuming all community boards accept our proposed changes, this will be the distribution of rates income. And Maniototo, the Maniototo ward stands at 12.7% of the total district rates income. To give you a recap of the numbers we've just gone over, staff is proposing a rates increase of 61,000 compared to annual plan 2029, which is 85,000 less than what we presented in February. This equates to a 7.7% movement, which is down from 11.5% that we presented in February. And the number of ratepayers in the Maniototo ward is 0.9%. It is below the district average, but it's still an increase of ratepayers. So next steps from here are we've met with all the other community boards. We met them Monday through Wednesday, and this is our last community board meeting. We plan to take these proposed changes to council next week on the 18th, and we plan to adopt the annual plan on the 3rd of June next month, 3rd of June 2020. So at this point, I'm happy to take any questions on the presentation or the report.
All right, thank you, Jotham. Anyone got questions there? Stu?
No, there's a bit of work done for the last couple of months trying to get that down and make it plausible. I guess the only thing about all these things is it could be we look at it the next year for the long-term plan, or you know, there may be a bow wave for some of the things we're trying to do, but it's just the intention was to try to keep it a minimal as much as we can at the moment. So I think we've done that.
Yep. Is there any indication on like rate relief, on how many people are going to want rate relief and the amount the council won't be getting in from rate relief?
If it's Leanne here, if I can reply to that, at this stage we don't have a feel. We have prepared a paper to take to council next week just discussing that, but very hard to gauge at the moment. A lot of our ratepayers, to be fair, may not necessarily have been impacted directly by COVID-19. If you think about our retired, and we do have a number of people with above average incomes that are able to pay their rates. So right at the moment, that's quite hard to gauge.
Thank you, Leanne.
Again, Rob, what has become apparent with some of the elected members is there's been a lot of work gone into making this a document that looks affordable, and if it does have a long unemployment lag that we're going into, is to really try to keep a real close eye on things in the next 18 months, 2 years. And it would be hoped that, like Leanne said, that we don't have a whole lot of outstanding rates, and that would be a directive, I'm pretty sure, of the councillors, that we don't want to see that happening, because the work's been done to try to make it affordable or palatable. We don't really want to have a double whammy. So that would be where the general comment I'm sitting around the table with is anyway.
Yes, so you're saying, Stu, that you'd end up with some rates coming in now and then waiting for the larger amount next year? Is that what you're getting at?
I know what I'm saying is we hope in the back of our minds that we don't have a whole lot of outstanding rates that aren't paid. Yep. That would be a double whammy. While we're trying to make it palatable now and cut costs, the last thing you want is cut costs and then have a lot of people not pay rates.
Okay. Yep. Now I get you. All right. Mark or Sue? Is Sue with us? Can she hear us? No. Duncan?
I'm all good with that.
Right.
Yeah, likewise.
Rebecca here. I'm just trying to get an update on Sue's situation.
Okay. I haven't got the actual complete minutes downloaded because I didn't want to come out from my other computer. So we'll need someone to move that and second that, please.
I'll move it, Stu.
Which one? Oh, you're fine.
Mark. Yeah.
Mark, have a seconder, please.
Yeah, I'll do that, Stu.
Duncan, all in favour?
All right.
Yes. Carried, thank you.
Rob, Rebecca here. Susan now. Can I just, so you're muted. If you just hover over the toolbar, you should see a little phone picture. There you go. You unmute again.
There we go.
And turn off your camera. It just helps it work better for everybody.
Is that all good?
Great. Right, Rob, sorry about that.
You're all right.
You're all
Right.
go.
Where are we up to? Fees and charges. Jotham and Leanne again.
I'll hand this one to Jotham, thank you.
Right, thank you. And Jotham.
Jotham here.
Yours.
Sorry, I'm trying to stop sharing that. Okay. So the purpose of this report is to provide the fees and charges schedule for financial year 2020-2021. We've attached the report. Attached to the report is Appendix 1, which is, I believe, pages 127 to 151 of your agenda. And this has the detail of the fees and charges. Highlighted in blue are the fees specific to the Maniototo ward. So I'm happy at this point to take any questions that you may have.
Where is it? No. Oh, just a bit.
I'm just struggling to get it up and have a look at them again. I looked the other
Oh.
night. Yeah, I can't get mine to come up here.
We'll just pause for a minute to try and allow that to happen.
Okay.
Where did it go? Where did it go? How are we going, everyone?
I can't find it either.
So it should be on page 123 of the Maniototo Minutes agenda. If page 123 is the report, and then from page 124 to about page 150 is the detail of the fees and charges.
No, all I've got is the agenda. I can't get any further into it.
Where is it?
Well, I've got the draft annual plan, then capital expenditure. But
If you give me a moment, Jotham, I can bring it up and share my screen.
Okay.
Sorry, what page did you say?
It's page 123.
Right.
Yep.
So can everybody see that?
yep,
And Jotham, if you just navigate for me, please.
Okay.
What do they need to have a look at?
Page, where's it?
Okay.
So Jotham, I'm controlling the mouse. What do
okay.
they need to look at?
So if you look at the fees that are highlighted in blue, those are fees specific to the Maniototo ward, but yeah.
Do I keep scrolling?
Yes, if you keep scrolling, see if there's, so page 127 has a few of them. Those are related to water supply and wastewater services.
So can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So then there are no major changes to when you're comparing fees from this current year to next financial year. But I did want everyone to be aware of those fees and charges.
Yeah, that's better.
Think, yes, if you.
Oh, now we've got 2 sets, that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If
Oh.
you move, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm talking to myself.
Oh, okay. If you keep going to page 131, Rebecca.
This page? No.
Yeah, this page is fine. It's just the cemetery fees, and these are the same as compared to last year. If you go one page down, there are a few things that have changed with renting out the Maniototo Park. They've included costs for half day for the sports ground and half day for the athletics. So that previously did not have a charge, but they've introduced charges for half day
Oh, yeah.
activities. Yeah.
What is that for? Sorry.
That is on Maniototo Park.
Oh, your sports ground half day, yep.
Yes.
And the athletics, that's the school's athletics where there is no charge, is that correct?
Yeah.
Previously, yep. Previously there was no. Yes, there's no charge going forward. Sorry.
Remember, Robert, we basically said that junior school kids that have no charge up to junior cricket, rugby and athletics.
For Forrester, well, not Forrester Cup, Thanksgiving Cup Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, but also junior cricket's the same.
Yep. Yep.
So the ratepayers will pay for that. So that's all good, isn't it? I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. And I believe those are the only fees and charges that have changed for the Maniototo ward.
Yep.
Yep.
They're all the same.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're all the same.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Yep.
What page? Sorry, Jocelyn. Oh.
120. If we go back to page 123.
Is that this page?
Yes.
I'll move. We received a report.
Second that.
Yeah, I'll second that. Duncan.
That's the fees and charges, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. We've got a mover and a seconder. None. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Jotham. Oh, my screen's gone funny again. Oh, look at that.
We're just getting to this.
Oh, I moved it. Pam, Stu.
So we're on to next the financial report, are we?
Yes,
Right. How come you can get it up and we can't?
I've put it up for you so that you're all looking at my screen now.
I tried to do that and it wouldn't do it. I must be doing something wrong.
Magic.
It is like magic. It's like magic, baby. Right, who we got here? Jotham again?
Yeah, Jotham here. I will hand over to Rona, who's our accountant, to present the report. Rona, are you there, Rona?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Rona here. I will take the report as read, but we'll just take a few moments to highlight 3 items, and then I'll be happy to take any questions at the end. So, as you can see on the screen, the Maniototo operating statement for the 3rd quarter ending 31st March 2020 is tracking favourable to the budget with 20k. That is mainly due to cost savings relating to 3 areas: staff costs, physical work and contract order work costs, and water charges. The biggest saving relating to water charges is because council has a new farm lease and therefore no longer picking up those water charges. These savings are likely to remain favourable for the remainder of the year, and that will offset the reduced interest income that will be ongoing due to reduced reserves and the lower than budgeted interest earned on reserves. Going down to capital expenditure. Currently, capital expenditure is sitting at 15% of the full year revised budget, and the majority of the balance of this capital will be carried forward. The biggest project to be carried forward relates to the reserve irrigation project. So that's all for me. I'll open up for any questions.
Yeah, Stu here. What's our reserve interest rate? What's that, and how much do we pay there? Because it goes back into our reserves as accumulating interest, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the interest calculation that gets calculated on reserves actually works on the average of interest that we can actually earn from the banks on our term deposits as well. So that has actually been very low, going down to 1.6%. The highest was 3.3 that we got. So it works on a weighted average as the year progresses.
Where we go?
Has the work's been done? Am I reading that wrong? I read yesterday. I can't have it come up. But scroll up on the hall and the Centennial Milk Bar and on the stadium. That work being done, or was it budgeted? Just work back down.
Yeah, so I can tell you what the difference is. So on the contract ordered work, it's the Maniototo Stadium and the community halls works that have not been done yet.
Yeah.
And on the physical work contracts, it's mainly the Ranfurlier, Naseby Cemetery and Otterihua domain works.
Yeah.
That most probably will be carried forward to next year.
Anything else there? Where are we up to? Oh, disappeared.
Yeah.
Disappeared again. I'm still here. No. Where's it gone? Everyone happy with that?
Yep.
I'll be sorry. Keep disappearing. No, it's gone again. Back. All right. So that was, so do we need someone to move that? We're on that report. On that. So does someone have that move that we received that report, please?
Yeah, I will, Sue.
Who? Seconder, please.
Yeah, I'll second it, Mark.
Mark Harris. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Right, what are we up to next? Janice, review Maniototo Trust terms and conditions. Is Janice here?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Janice here. So this is a standard report that we do after every triennial election, review the Maniototo Trust Fund guidelines. I take it that the report is read. Nothing substantial has changed. There have been no requests to change any of these guidelines apart from a renew date, taking us through for the next 3 years. Any comments from the board?
No, I managed to read it the other day. Everyone else happy with it?
Yep.
Rob here, sorry. Right. Oh, anything else in there? Now, Janice, is this part of it where we're talking about the new trustees?
No, that's a report to come under confidential. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Right, thank you.
Move that report, Robert. Stu.
We'll move that, be accepted. There's a seconder, please.
Yeah, well, Duncan.
Have all those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, thank you. Right, where are we next? So done that. Draft tree policy. Gordon.
Yes, I'm here.
You, Gordon?
Yep, I've just haven't got much to say. Just a clarification on recommendation B, that should be Tree Policy 2020, and just to note that the recommendation is to seek council's approval for taking this out for public comment consultation. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, I can't read it at the moment, so I can't remember exactly what was in it.
Yeah, no, I had a look at it and it looked pretty good to me. I guess the tree people in the Maniototo have different views on trees than some of maybe the staff in other regions. We quite often get the Jane Falkners of this world telling us that their tree plantings are not correct. So I guess you'll know that, Gordon. You've probably had enough of it.
Yes, well, I hope we can accommodate her within the policy. I'm sure we can.
Yeah, no, it's just a comment you get a bit that some of the trees aren't appropriate for the region, but that's, I'm sure, the right man for the job. But other than that, I've had a read of it. It looks fine to me, but if everyone is happy, I'm more than happy to read the report.
Yeah, well, I've read it, and we've just got to make sure that we get the right tree at Renfrew. I mean, we've got too many trees, in my opinion, that are destroying pipes, they're destroying footpaths, and when they fall over, the whole thing's going to be pulled out. It's just no matter what we do, you've got to look forward into 10 or 20 years' time what the tree's going to look like and what sort of damage it will cause and what it's going to cost to maintain. That's all. Yeah, be mindful of everything like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So, anyone else got a comment on that?
Nope.
No.
I agree with what you said though.
Yeah, and Gordon will be. Gordon, when it comes back for public consultation, will it all go through you? Then you come back to us about it.
Yeah, we'll collate that. I'm not sure if it goes directly to council or back to the boards. I'm not quite sure on that process.
Okay, thank you. That's right. We'll find out in due course then. Right, Stu, you've moved that report, have you? Accepted. A seconder, please.
Yeah, I'll second it. Mark.
Chris. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried, thank you. Thank you, Gordon. We're in there. Status reports. Right. Oh, yeah, I can't move that, can I?
That was closed though, isn't it?
That's all. That was all done, wasn't it? That's for the
for
the Lions. They were going to come back to a report talking to them about it. So Pateroa Cavalcade. Yep.
I heard how that went. It was pretty good, but I haven't heard any money being talked, but that'll be something we'll have to keep an eye on. I was talking to Peter Aiken about the cavalcade. There's obviously a bit of profit there. So, yeah, how that gets sent back in the community.
Yeah, well, that'll just be something we can work through with them if we have to.
Yep.
Right.
I've been talking to a lot of cavalcaders, and they from all over the country, and they had nothing but good words to talk about the way it was ran and the way it was organised.
You'll be able to give us a wee report and your members report about that, Duncan, won't you, about the cavalcade?
Yes, I'll make a note of that now.
So where are we up to? This page is gone. Oh, yeah. So this is resolution. Are we on resolution 19.8.14? Is that the one? Right. Status report. We need
Resolutions, that's the next one, yeah.
We need a mover and seconder for that one, do we? I think. Is it correct or is it closed? Rebecca, do we need someone to move that one?
You just move the whole status reports of resolutions there on the screen now. So you just receive the whole lot.
And that's all we've got to look at there, isn't it? I can only see bits and pieces every now and then, and things are kind of jumping around.
So I'll just scroll through the status. So there's the promotion grants applications, which you've discussed, followed by the draft annual plan, which is closed, followed by the council-owned earthquake-prone buildings for the Maniototo. And that's the reports to come to council in June. Then the ex-Pateroa school building consent, that's on hold.
Yes. Does everyone know what's going on about the, has everyone heard what's happening at the Pateroa school domain? They're up to speed with that, are they?
Oh, no.
So,
Was that of a couple of months ago? What's changed? Nothing's changed since, has it?
I'm just making sure everyone knows what's been happening. Duncan, have you been involved in everything, heard everything that's going on there?
No. Well, other than there was a bit of a surprise sprung on us about the house and the potential other buildings that were going to go there.
And I'll quickly run through is that the sublease was approved in principle by the board and was to go to the CEO for final sign off. Then members of the Pateroa community came to us and said we're going to change this and change this and change that. And where they were then informed that they can't change it, they'll have to go back through a board meeting and then go to the CEO to be approved, which caused a bit of dilemma with them, and they have now decided that they may not lease the school grounds as they are. So that's all been put on hold, and we're going back through it with them, which won't be, I think, Stu, if you correct me, till about August, is it?
Yeah, it got quite heated. Robert and I had a meeting with Janice and the leasees. Things got a bit excited there for a bit, and then since then they've made an offer on the Pateroa Hotel or thereabouts. It came up as well, so pretty muddy water at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, in the worst case scenario, as I understand, they'll just hand the whole lot back to the council, and they will then go back out for public consultation, I think, within the Pateroa community as to what they want to do with it again. Yeah. I think, is that correct, Stu?
Yeah, pretty much. So they've got to decide, and that was they were blaming council for holding it up, but when they put the buildings there, they didn't have a building consent or how many buildings they were going to have. So they were quite muddied, and then they started blaming the council for asking for a bit more information, which they had to provide and they didn't. And yeah, so then we asked them to put out a document for the community to have a say, and they wrote it in their language and sent it back, but it was sort of been muddy, and they were sort of to and fro in a bit, and they got quite heavy handed with us at the meeting, didn't they?
Yes, they were they had their own idea of what they wanted, and they weren't prepared to alter it in any way. And, that was pretty well the end of it.
Stage the negotiations for the tavern fell over, and they started entertaining the idea of buying the tavern for worker accommodation, and then they played that game that we probably didn't need us anyway. So it'll be to and fro for a bit, I think. And then we had another issue with the cavalcade, because they're going to use some of the buildings for the cavalcade as a one-off, which I think we had legally written in there, and they went dog again because they were paying the insurance and the rates and all that. So they've just been difficult to deal with, but I'm guessing it'll be like that for a while yet.
very true. Right, so everyone understands that bit? Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, so what else? And that's about all. What else we got? Oh, yes, no, the gravel reserve, everyone up to date? Yep, but everyone's up to date. They know what was happening there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
You're up to date with what was happening with the gravel pit. They're just going to lease it and.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's that old bit up behind
The old dump there.
old dump.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of waste ground, and they're going to try and tidy it up, which is quite good, I think. Right. So we just need someone to.
I'll move that report be received.
A seconder, please.
I'll second it, Sue.
Numbers. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, thank you. Right. Thank you very much. Where are we? Where are we? Look at my bit of paper. Mayor's report. Is the mayor quiet?
Oh yeah, no, I'm still here. Just you'll be blessed. You know, you'll be glad that I'm quiet, Robert. Generally considered a good thing. Look, I don't have a lot to add to what I've put in that report, which was written over a week ago now. Probably just that, you know, obviously to personally thank the board and its members, chairman in particular, for the efforts done in the Maniototo. During the crisis, you guys out there just pick the ball up and run with it, and do a superb job of it. And Robert and I had quite a few catch-ups through the time, and everything seemed to be perfectly under control. So well done. And just that last paragraph about bringing balance to the conversation. Before this meeting, I put a Facebook post up regarding the ODT, and I'm not having a go at the ODT here at all. They just simply published the figures as they were given. That Central Otago had a 67% increase in unemployment from March to April, which is entirely right. 147 people have now gone on to the unemployment benefit in the course of that month. And there's going to be more of that to come. There's no questioning it, and it's going to be tough for those people involved. But when I say about having positive leadership and bringing balance to the conversation, I had some discussions with MSD and got the deeper figures, which simply hadn't been put out. It wasn't withheld or anything, it just simply asked and they were given. And that's the overall unemployment rate in Central Otago. So whilst there's been a 67% increase, we currently sit at 2.7% unemployed. So you can see the colossal difference in terms of just how it makes one feel reading a 67% increase or a 2.7% total. It's a different story when you focus on the 2.7, and that compares to 4.3% across the whole southern region. And the southern region is the lowest unemployment rate in New Zealand. And that's what I'm meaning about Central Otago being in as good a shape as anybody in the world to get through this rubbish time that we're all going into. And that's why I think that carefully looking at the numbers, recognising them for what they are, and that's 147 folks whose lives have changed for now, and they've gone on to a benefit when they wouldn't have been anticipating it, and those folk that are to come. It's important that those folk and all the folk of the district know that we're better off than most, which means that we're going to come out of it sooner than others, one hopes. We're going to be able to get those 147 people and the ones that are to follow back into work sooner than many places. So it's bringing that balance to it and not just going down that very easy rabbit hole of worry, negative thinking, anxiety, because depression, both the mental health depressions and the economic depressions, start with complete lacking of confidence. Well, obviously they're a bit more complicated than that, but the lacking in confidence has a huge part to play in all of these, and that's why all of us, you know, we've got a duty to the truth first and foremost, but also showing what the reality really is, which is we're in for a tough time, but we're going to come through it together and we'll be all right. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm happy to answer any questions across the board on anything. Otherwise, that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Tim, I just noticed in the council website now that the water scheme, Clyde water scheme's up and running again. Are they? Is that what the way I read it was going full steam ahead? Is it ready to go again?
The building of it, my understanding is that all the infrastructure works, and I'm not sure who is listening in from staff that may be better advised to answer this. But yep, those capital projects are underway again. They were simply paused for level 3 and 4, which made it impossible to do. But they'll be back underway.
That's good. That'll help out a lot of workers in Alexandria, particularly Alexandria and Cromwell, that are worried about their jobs.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. And Robert, that's a crucial thing that council has to look at. I've sat through a lot of economists doing webinars and whatnot over the last 7 weeks as I've sat at home, and they all have agreed on one thing, and that's that it's going to be a lot of the recovery is going to come from government and from local government as well, and that if we, local and central government, go holy smoke and pull up the tent pegs and bury ourselves, we're not going to progress. That was one of the big lessons that was learned out of the Great Depression, was that a bad situation was made a whole lot worse by governments going into austerity. So council has to balance what we've talked about, or you guys have talked about today, with taking out of the rates what we can without removing elements of the rates or of our income that are going to enable us to facilitate and in some cases lead recovery in our district. So it's a hell of a balancing act when we still don't know, you know, everything changes by the day, and things have changed radically today as we've spoken, and the budgets come out. So it's not easy, and there's a lot of calls that people have made to me, and emails that have been made to me, and Facebook comments to, well, not just to me, to other elected members, saying you need to cut the rates, you need to stop charging rates. We can't do that. We've got bills that still have to be paid. We've got services people still want, and we've still got to be in a position to lead this community out and assist in that. So yeah, she's a balancing act.
Oh, yes, Rob. Yeah, it will be for a while. Because the other question I had, I didn't know who to ask, was the government's putting money forward for, what do they call it, the shovel first projects, or?
Yeah.
So how much is that going to end up in CODC's pocket?
Look, we don't know at this stage, Robert. We're supposed to find out this month, but what we do know is that there was, and again, there may be somebody from staff who wants to jump in, but there was something like 2,700 applications made, of which 700 remain in a couple of different streams for consideration, and the 3 that we put in still remain. So that's good news, certainly, and that was because I sat in an infrastructure webinar last week, I think it was, and the comment was made by the people in the infrastructure, can't remember what the official title is, the ones who are making these calls, that a lot of those projects that were put forward weren't actually genuinely shovel ready, and so they're just not interested. It's got to be ready to go right now, which all of ours were, and that's just a matter of being responsible when you make these applications. That, you know, some people throw everything but the kitchen sink at it, whereas our folk put through well-reasoned, well-placed applications, and that's why they're still in the running.
That's very good. Thank you, Tim. Any other questions for Tim? No?
And just one thing, Tim, do you want to talk about, we had a discussion about local contractors, and where was going to be some work done by staff there, because I guess one of the risks is when you've got a different environment for tendering and pricing, you while it's in your best interest to look after Central Otago contractors, there's also going to be a whole lot of international and national contractors looking for some of that business. And I guess one of the concerns, and I know it is a view of some councillors, that we've got to make sure that we have a fair look at the contract prices when they're set. And we don't want to just be taking any financial advantage for doing these projects away from ourselves, I guess. So do you want to talk about that, Tim, anything?
Well, it's a really tricky one, and certainly wouldn't want to preempt a conversation at council, other than to say council will be having that conversation and we'll be getting a report provided, not at our next meeting. I'm not sure where that's tracking, but we do need to, I think, refocus a local procurement policy. But you run a risk in that you lose, you might wind up spending a huge amount of money. We've got to find a balance. Yeah. Between, you know, if you think of a major project and imagine a whole lot of, I don't know, people from Auckland coming in to do it while there's locals looking for work, well, that ain't good. But on the other hand, if they're doing it at half the cost, oh, gee whiz, you know, and there's that balance again. And that's what you guys as elected members and the same around the council table, we've always got to look at. So it is going to be looked at, but we haven't received a report yet, so I wouldn't want to sort of speculate much more than that.
All right, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Stu. Anyone else? No. Can someone move that the Mayor's report be accepted, please?
I'll do that. Sorry.
Pat, who do we get there? No, everyone's gone. Can we?
I'll move it.
Mark Harris?
Yeah, I'll move it. Yep.
Seconder, please.
Yep, I'll do that.
All those in favour?
Right.
Against? Carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Tim. Right. Oh, me. Here's report. What do we got? As you know, we've had the COVID, and we organised a system. We're quite lucky in the people that we managed to get in there. We had 3 or 4 of us, and we organised through the local 4 squares and the businesses around town. Everyone was sent a sheet out of who could do what and phone numbers, and of delivering groceries. And you didn't actually have to be a 70-year-old to get your groceries delivered. Everyone was quite happy if they were delivering it to middle-aged or younger people. There was 2 people who both had the flu, and they were in their 40s, and they got it delivered to them because they didn't feel that they should be going out into the community. But we're very lucky there, we managed to sort it out, and we're very lucky that Janine Benson, I don't know if you know Janine, she was staying with her father, and she works for DCC in supply and logistics. So we devised the plan using a Sims operation, and Janine very kindly fine-tuned it for us, spoke to all the people involved in a better language than I could, and organised. We had one lady, Sue Evans, she was organising the people who were picking up the groceries and where they were going. We had Kay Hodge, she was organising the people who were ringing the people that needed rung and to check everyone was all right, and we had quite a group of them. And we had Denise Baddock at the radio station, where she did all the media stuff, and she liaised very well, she thought, with Maria de Court, so that all the council information was coming out and getting onto the radio station website and onto their Facebook. So in the end it worked quite well. We didn't have too many problems. There were glitches in the plan here and there, but we managed to sort them out. And the other person that was involved in that story was Yako, which I thought he did an excellent job. He only really had one major problem, but he was wandering around the town giving out advice to people. And as I said, I think you're better off to take his advice than, and everything worked quite well, really. It was only a couple, like I said, a couple of glitches. And that's still going at the moment. Janine's still here, working away. She thinks she's here for another 2 to 3 weeks, and she's quite happy to keep on top of things and just go through the system with the other ladies. And as I said, she talks to them in a language they can understand very easily and explains it to them very well on what's going on. Because we also had like Becky Bruins, sorry, as well. And Becky Bruins, being an ex-pharmaceutical assistant, was delivering prescriptions to people around the town for the very reason that she knew that she had the right prescription for the right person, and had a very nice manner about how she did it. That's how all that's going. Now, I see the grills are on the 3 pipe inlets for the Domain pipeline now. They look very good. Hopefully they'll work all right, because I think from memory, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong, Stu might know, is that they were going to leave the middle ones open down beside the tennis court to make sure everything worked all right before they filled them in or covered them over. So hopefully that'll get done and get rid of that last 2 bits. The trees at the Domain there, I don't know if they've been sprayed. There's not many leaves on them. The ones they cut down, they're all shooted up again. So they're going to need sprayed. So hopefully that is on the plan. The grass mowing starting to get underway. I see the gardens, last week there were gardeners out pulling out weeds and stuff and getting the gardens looking good. It was a very good job they're doing. All right, Para Bike Trail. I sent you all an email from John Gibson. He went out to the coconut people, and I also sent a reply I had when I had a discussion with Donald Carey again. I've sent you the email of that, of his feelings on it, and also another discussion that was had there that if you all know where they're talking about at Daisy Bank, the car park at Daisy Bank. Does everyone know where the car park is at Daisy Bank on the highway? Right,
Yep.
Yep. Well, the DOC are trying to move the car park because, in conjunction with, I'm not sure if it's aspiring highways or transit, because of the dangerous location of coming when you come around that corner, people coming out or going into that car park. And the idea is to try and move it to the old Coconut Railway Yard. Does everyone know where that is?
Oh, I don't know.
As you go through Coconut, if you know where Peter Ganderton lives, I don't know, the wee house on the right, is it just as you're getting out of Coconut going towards Middlemarch?
Yeah.
There's a wee road there, and that's the old Coconut.
Oh, yeah.
Yard. So they're trying to get it all moved up there, and they're trying to get a toilet to alleviate the car parking problems, and also to get a toilet involved. And I'm just trying to have a discussion with Donald that he needs to compromise it just a little bit to make life easier for everyone. Well, that's about where that is, and if you all get that email, you can have a read and get back to me and see what you think about it, and we can go from there. But his major bugbear is that the Petera community plan is within the Waipiata and Coconut area. It is major argument. Yeah. And what else was I going to say? No. Oh, no, I noticed it in the paper. I got rung up on Monday about the new reserve for fish and game in the sticks. And I have to say I had no idea where it was, and I had no idea who had done it. It was quite interesting reading in the paper on Tuesday, was it Tuesday, about John Faulkner and his reserve that they've set up with Fish and Game, which I think is excellent. You know, for a guy like John to go and do something like that and make it so there's a reserve for fishing. It won't be for duck shooting, I suppose, and somewhere where waterfowl can breed. I think it's a very, very good thing. And
he sold it to Fish and Game.
Yeah, he sold it to Fish and Game, but to negotiate and actually get a reserve made in it is quite a good thing, I thought. And particularly in this world, at this time where everyone's moaning about not enough green things being done by farmers and councils. We'll go in the good pile. But that's all I've got. Any questions, or does anyone want to know any more about that the system we set up for the food deliveries and the? No. All right.
No, just congratulate you for getting it done, and it went well. Yeah.
Yep. Fine.
Well, we were very lucky to have Janine there. I mean, would have been a lot.
These people turn up when you need them, though, isn't it?
Yeah, would have been a lot harder without her, because that's her work. That's what she does. So it was excellent. Well, if there's no questions, I'd like to move that report be moved. Move that report be accepted. Thank you. The seconder, please.
I'll second it.
Oh, someone.
One of us will second it. Yep.
Bumpers. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Again. Thank you. Right, where are we up to? Members' reports. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first, Robert.
Okay, so.
Rightio, well, my job through the COVID time frame was to ring and liaise with the residents of the council flats, which I've been doing for quite a few weeks now. And I have to say it was really a great experience, because I hadn't actually met half those people. So I was ringing them about every 5 days on cell phones and landlines, and having a chat and helping them out with any problems they had, and just sometimes, well, just having a wee chat really. And so I've done this for quite a while, and then I ran out of minutes on my phone. So it was about 10 or 11 days before I had a big break, and I hadn't rung them for a while. And when I rang up, they were, "Where were you?" And we were worried that you hadn't rung, so now I might have to ring them forever, I think. But one thing that came out of it is that they're an amazing group of people. They were very positive, they never complained, they just took up the challenge of what was happening and went with it, and were very grateful for the help that they got and the groceries that got delivered and people that looked after them. So it's been a really nice experience, and I'm not sure if it'll ever stop, but anyway, that kept me busy for a while, because there's quite a few people in all of the flats. The other thing that I thought was excellent was the dawn service for the Anzac Day. Went out to the letterbox, and it was a very peaceful morning, and then out of the distance came some music in the last post, and all the things you get at dawn service kindly set up by Ewan Mason. So I think big kudos to Ewan for that. It was amazing and very spooky, because it was sort of crackly and a bit in the distance, and it was very kind of realistic of what it must have been like. So I have to say that even though we couldn't have the usual service, it was an excellent replacement for it. The other thing that I've had is I've had a few people talk to me about some buildings that have been erected in Launceston Place, and on on 3 of the sections in that subdivision there are very large farm sheds. One is a 4-car garage, and that's been there for a while, and then there's 2 large buildings that you wouldn't think you would put on a residential section. And I'm just trying to figure out how they get planning permission for it, because the latest one is like you could put it's big enough you can stick a tractor in it. It's right on the boundary, so it shades, and also the house next door, when she looks out of her kitchen window, all she can see is grey corrugated iron. Also out of her lounge on the left is all she can see is this humongous shed. It's got 2 large roller doors, and it's exceedingly high, about probably twice the height of a normal Skyline garage. And I was just wondering if anyone knows or can find out in our planning department whether on a small residential section where there's no houses you can erect these buildings. Did you go and have a look, Robert?
Yes, I did. It is a rather large building.
It is.
I was quite surprised. I had a quick, it must be the legal distance, it's about 1.5 meters from the boundary.
That's right, that's about the only thing that's all right about it.
And yeah, I could see the problem quite, yeah, you didn't have to get out of the truck to see the problem.
No.
I had a walk around, and at the end they've partitioned it off, and they've put a log burner, so it looks like they might be gonna, I don't know if they're gonna camp up the end, but it's just the sheer height of it, and the fact that it actually doesn't fit in with a residential section or residential subdivision, does it?
Well, it looks very much out of place, but I'm picking it'll have to have all the consents and planning issues that go with it if they're putting a fire in it, because the plumbers won't be able to put a fire in unless it's got a building consent.
Could you repeat the address, please, Sue?
Well, I don't know the actual street number, but it's next to Shirley Scott's house. So it's on the left as you go down. You can't miss it.
You'll see it. You'll see the damn thing. Yeah.
I mean, it's really had a huge effect on her house, and I should imagine it's resale value. I just wondered why we allow them to do it, basically.
I had the same conversation with another fellow here who's going to build a barn in his backyard, and it's one of those sort of looks like an old type of barn, you know, with the high bit in the middle and the couple of bits coming down off the side, and it's reasonably high. And I said to him, well, it's not going to worry me because it won't interfere here, but I said, what about the lady over the back? You're going to cut right into her morning sunshine. And his reply was that once you were so far from the boundary, you didn't need to get a bloody permit to build it, which I don't know whether that's right or not, but it still seems a bit odd that if you're going to build something that's high and block out sunshine, especially in our winters, that there really needs to be something that should be said about that. I'm not going to name names, or I can, but I won't. But it just seemed, and he said that once you were 3 metres out from the boundary, you were under no requirement to notify the neighbour.
Through the chair, Rebecca here.
Yes.
We have Louise on the call if you'd like her to comment.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Louise here. It 100% depends on whether it complies with the height and yard requirements in the district plan. Those height and yard requirements differ between rural and residentially zoned land, and I'm aware that there is sections, residential sections in Maniototo that are zoned rural. So I really need to understand the address, and I can look at this very easily.
It's residential section.
Okay, I need the address too, because I can't look up and see if it's consented without the address. But what I would say is that if it complies, you can build as of right, and you do not have to talk to the neighbour. So I'm happy to look this up if I can work out exactly where it is.
So what is the height in a residential area, Louise?
From memory, I haven't got the district plan in front of me, but 7.5 metres. And there's a side yard of 3 metres and one of 1.8 and a rear yard of 3 metres. And there's an envelope, a height envelope that you measure to make sure you don't protrude through that.
What would be the average height of there? You know, I'm asking you.
You could get 2 stories in that.
Yeah, well, that's quite high. If it's only 3 yards out, it'll block sun.
Yep, and then that may be a fault in our district plan rather than the person not complying. But we've got fairly standard regulations around that height envelope in the district plan.
You know, that sort of thing bloody knocks values off houses. You get some bugger planting a barn in front of your bloody kitchen, and you're trying to sell it, and the buyer's looking out there, looking into a barn. Well, it's not going to do a lot of good, is it?
Yeah. Louise.
It's crazy.
Louise, it's Robert here.
Hi.
Yes, I think we'll be 13 Launceston Place.
13? Okay, I'll have a look.
Yep. And it'll be 1.5 metres from the boundary will be the thing. It would be close to 7 metres high. It's a very big building. I just thought it would be a bit strange that he's that close to the boundary that he doesn't need the neighbour's permission to build it.
Yeah, so you can go to 1.8 on 1 yard with a residential dwelling, and an accessory building can go to 1.5 from memory, but that does require a neighbour's approval. But I'm just going to see if I can have a quick look now, and if I can't, I will come back to you via email.
Right, thank you. Where were we up to? Sue.
Yes, I don't think I've got anything else. I just think if that is legal, then there's something wrong with the bylaw, because it's quite unfair, really, in a way, that they can dump that huge thing there and completely block out the house next door. It must have, I mean, really, it's affected its whole value. And it's just, and I mean, that's only a small street, and there's 2 of them being allowed to be built along there on a residential section. I mean, it's different if you had 5 acres and you could, you know, stick it away in the corner and it's not going to have any effect on anyone. But yeah, and you're right about those trees at the stadium, Robert. Hopefully they spray them, because some of them are about 5 foot tall now, those poplars that have come up off the roots where we put that drain in. Yep. So we really don't want them to get any bigger.
While they're spraying, there's a bit of broom coming up under the trees down from the bloody squash courts too.
There's broom all down on the domain. Where they don't mow at the back, there's quite a stand of broom getting established there, which is not a good look on council domains.
No, that damn stuff keeps growing too if you don't.
Yeah, that's right. It hasn't been sprayed down there for a few years, so it is multiplying quite fast. But pretty much,
yeah, because those. Sorry, keep going.
Right, that's pretty much it, really.
Because those trees, those suckers down there, actually want cut off so they can regrow, so you can spray them next March and get it. You'll get a good kill off them. Yeah, that's what they actually need done. Because if you keep growing like that, they're going to be harder to spray, and you won't get that little bud in March.
Yeah,
poison them. That's right. So I'll talk to Janice about that, and she'll know the right person to talk to. Right. Anything else, Sue?
No, that's pretty much me. Thanks.
Thank you. Who's going next?
Can I just jump in and comment? I've had a quick look at our system, and I don't see any recent consents for any buildings on 13 Launceston Place. Is it a dwelling or is it a farm?
Pardon?
Is it a dwelling or is it a farm building?
I'd say it's a farm building. It's just a big shed.
And has it been relocated or built on site?
Oh,
I'd say it's been built on site. Looks brand new.
Okay, I'll follow up and I'll come back to you.
Find out anyway.
If it's with the house beside it's 11 Launceston Place, which is Shirley Scott's. So I'm presuming they start at 1 and go out, because I think Jim Smith's 3.
Yep, and then I've got that.
Okay. Thank you, Louise.
All right, no problem.
Right. Who are we up to? And Sue. Duncan, are you sitting next to Sue still?
Sure. I'm pretty sure there's a good meter between them.
I hope there is.
I've been sitting here nodding, then I sort of realised that people can't see that. You mentioned before about the cavalcade. You've spoken to a lot of people during the cavalcade at Patiaroa from all over they come from all over the country, and I've spoken to quite a few since the cavalcade, and I haven't heard a bad word said about it. They're all full of praise for the way we town in the country area ran it, and they were very impressed. I think the COVID thing's been handled very well locally. You guys have done a great job with organising everything. Pat in the back for you. Well, we used to patch on the back of their boots, but that was sort of a bit different. I agree with Sue on the dawn services. It was quite different. Standing out by your mailbox and looking around in the dark and seeing other people standing out by the mailboxes, and then you and Mason's music coming over. It was actually quite eerie. Not a lot. I haven't had anyone ringing me about anything, so I think not a lot more to say. But other than the fact there's a couple of bull sales, or probably 4 bull sales coming up in the next few days, and there's going to be a fair online aspect of them, which is going to be quite new for the bull sales. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Technologies. All right.
One in particular.
Yeah.
Might get a different MC and.
Yeah. So no, that's about me really. I've got. I see the graders have been out and about a bit in the last few days too, so might be getting ready for a bit more traffic on some of the gravel roads. But other than that, that's me.
Right. Thank you, Duncan. Mark.
Yeah, afternoon. No, I've got a hell of a lot to report because I didn't get asked to do much during the COVID thing. But I'll congratulate you guys that did get involved with it and did your bit. It was very good, both here and up country, obviously by the sound of it. So well done to you all there. I agree with Sue on the end and Dunk on the Anzac Day, and it was certainly different, all right. But it was good that there was a lot of people out for all the, even in the half dark, you could look along the streets and there was people out, so that was good. I also agree with Sue about those buildings. I think that's not good, but it's good that people are now onto it. And I did have one person query me about what you can do about ugly sites on people that have got sections and they're not looking after them very well. And I said, well, I didn't really know. I couldn't remember from. But the one in particular he was referring to was in the middle of town there where the guy's got all the cars. I drove past there the other day and it looked bloody awful, to be fair, in the middle of a town. But someone else might be able to tell me on what you can and can't do about that, or if you can actually do anything. That's about it, really. That's about all I've got to say. Thank you.
If sorry, Sue, keep going.
Is that the guy? Is that opposite challenge there, where that guy built that big green shed, another shed, and said he was going to do a car museum, and then he just dumped?
Yeah, that's the one.
And I had someone talk to me about that too, and he's, you know, this guy said, well, he's really frustrated because he does his best to keep his block of land and his gardens and everything, and make the place look good, and then right in the centre of town is a humongous eyesore. Yeah,
and that's the view that most people that talk to me about it too, is what the hell's the point of us doing our best to make things look nice, and then you get that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, some of these people need to have a wee look at themselves a bit, I think. You know, like,
through the chair, Rob, Louise might have a comment on this too.
In terms of messy properties, we can't do anything. We can only get involved. We used to be able to get involved with fire risk properties, but we don't have that function anymore. So unless it's a hazardous site as defined or a health issue, then it really isn't a council issue. Unfortunately, well, I'm actually going to say fortunately, because that's not a space I'd want to get involved in. But yeah, I totally appreciate it. It doesn't look good, but whoever said they need to sort it out themselves is probably dead right.
Right. There's nothing that can be done about a fence along the front or something, could you?
We can't require people to do anything really on their property. We have rules around what they do in terms of getting consents and height restrictions, that sort of thing, but we can't say build a fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that.
Wonder though, when he applied for consent to do that, he said he was setting up a car museum. If he hasn't actually done that, does that like contravene any planning or anything?
I'm sorry, so I struggled to hear you. You were cutting in and out.
I was just saying that when he, as far as I know, when he applied to build that giant shed in the centre of the town, he said he was going to establish a car museum, and he hasn't done so. So does that have any effect on his ability to keep it like he does? Like, you know,
right.
He didn't.
Well, if he was establishing a car museum on a residential site, he would need resource consent. I can't see any consents on the property at all, but I will follow up and see. But a residential site should only be used for residential purposes. So if it was used for storage of cars, we might be able to say that's not the right use of the property. But I think we're just going to have a look and see what's there and check it out from there.
Not residential though, is it? The one opposite Challenge is on commercial, I would say.
Oh, right, okay.
It probably is commercial, I think, yeah.
Okay, so do we have a, so that's just a messy site, is it?
Well, it's just a dump yard for cars.
Yeah.
They're all rusting, and I think there probably is some, you know, if the kids got in amongst that, I'm sure they could get hurt, you know, in there, because some of those cars aren't in very good state. But I can't remember.
I don't think there is anything we can do, but I will have a look at that when we're looking at the other one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Robert here. There, Louise?
Yep.
A question. Is it possible for the community board actually to set up or outline a code of building and saying that this house is not acceptable in Rainfree, or does that have to go through
That is the district plan, and I would encourage you, when we're getting into that level of detail in the district plan review, to have a look at our rules, and we can have a discussion then. And if there are some issues with our rules, we certainly should attempt to address them. But it might be, we have to just work out whether this is non-compliance with the rules or if it's compliance with bad rules. So I'll follow that up in the first instance.
Right, thank you very much, Louise.
No worries.
Right, Mark, are you all finished there?
Yep, thank you.
A quick note, Mark, it's welcome you back here after your serious major surgery you had. Even though you seem to make quite light of it. Jane was telling us it wasn't nothing. So it's good to see you back at a meeting and looking like you're in full health, even though you're still wearing those awful pants, shorts, having a nice odd beer. It's good.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
So can I have someone move those members' reports be accepted, please?
I'll do that. Duncan.
Mark Harris, a seconder, please.
I'll second them. Yeah, Mark Harris.
Mark Harris. All those in favour?
All right.
Against? Carried, thank you. Right. We're on to date of the next meeting. When's that?
Has Councillor Duncan given a report?
Don't worry about him. Sorry, Stu, my apologies.
All right, well, I've got quite a list here, but I'll make it quick. I think you'll find that one of those building sites, a person lives in Naseby and said they were intending to build a garage because it was cheaper than doing it and had more regulation in Naseby. And some of those people are the same people we had container issues in the early days where they wouldn't shift their containers off site because, well, the law stated you didn't have to shift your container till you actually finished and signed off your building consent. So some of them may be the same people, but they are, and I sort of agree with that. I've been actually quite busy because I'm a part of the executive committee, so we've been having meetings just to deal with some of these issues. And we've been keeping in contact a bit, and Tim's running a sort of a chat day on a Friday. We all get together as councillors, so there's been a fair bit of talking going on. I've been a couple of seminar things with the economic development and work and income, or whoever they are. Two issues out of that. While everyone's very optimistic and talk about unemployment, it's not, to me, going to be that easy to retrain people and shift them into rural areas. Because like a lot of farmers, and I brought that up with the lady from Queenstown who's going to shift people into agriculture, cattle are worth a couple of $1,000s and sheep are worth a lot of money. A tractor is worth $250,000. You're not going to take some person that hasn't got those skill sets and try to train them on agriculture. And with the rules and the law around the MPI and employment laws, taking someone on for 3 months, admittedly they may get looked at and changed a wee bit. There's going to be a wee bit of resistance probably to move them into these areas. And the other thing is we haven't got accommodation for a lot of people. So it's just not going to be as easy, especially in rural New Zealand, I think, to rehome people out of the tourism maybe market. But they seem very optimistic that's going to be there. So a lot of the conversations and the meetings we've been having is about the uptick in the environment. And I don't want to be a doomsday prepper, but it's not going to be anywhere near as quick as a lot of people think. Because if you've got a resilient business, which a lot of people in Central Otago have, whether it be in, contracting, whether it be in building, whether it be in farming or forestry or education, and they're resilient because of a reason that they can take financial hits. And that's one thing rural New Zealand, especially Central Otago, has been founded on that. If there's no gold in your diggings 50 years ago, you went somewhere where there was. So I think while we're in a good place, everyone's going to be the first place to come out of it. It's going to be a bit slower. and that flows on to what it's going to look like on the rates, and a bit of work done there, and we'll talk about that in the future. But sometimes I think we're not going to get what we want, and there's going to be some hard questions that have to be looked at in council in the next 18 months, and I'm sure there's some people in that around the table will ask them very hard questions. So that's something that's going to be a bit tricky coming forward. There's the council work started to go. The graders have been out, and the broom around our corner has been sprayed, which is good, because I know that with the shutdown, there was a perfect opportunity probably for a lot of those contractors to get going, and they didn't. And I'm not sure the government looked and thought about that in road and infrastructure in New Zealand. And I've heard that from big industry within that road and industry and highways and that a machine is a metre or 2 metres apart from another machine. And there's a lot of chance to get a lot of that work done under a lockdown that wasn't. So while we might have been fighting the COVID thing there was a lot of opportunities to get things done that weren't done. And I guess that's probably a missed opportunity as much as anything, but it was a tricky time for everyone, and everyone jumped on the bandwagon to self-isolate. But I'm not sure that grader drivers or tarmac companies or painting lines on towns and through New Zealand wouldn't have been a perfect opportunity if they met some stringent rules. It seems to be a comment that's coming out now after the fact. Cavalcade, yeah, went to that, and it's probably the first event really that I've been to where the whole community have got behind it and it made a profit for investing our ratepayer money. I had a good discussion with Pete Aiken. It looks like it's returned a profit, and it was really good to see a lot of foreigners come in there and stay for the function. And I would say them worked on the bar for the night, and it was a really well organised volunteer group. And one of the real positives for me is that it brought a whole new group of volunteers to the community that we haven't had volunteering before. And I can probably honestly say, other than a handful, they were new volunteers, which is really great. And it's made a profit, so how we work with that will be another good thing. Yeah, school goes back, so that's going to be interesting. We've got social distancing, but if we've got kids at boarding school and 140 of them are going to go back on Sunday night and be within a metre of each other in boarding establishments, so I guess they know what they're doing, so that's all good. The older people here struggled, and I know mainly the people we know close to us in the older age group that couldn't go to bowls and couldn't interact with their old friends. So they probably struggle more because they're not digitally enhanced enough that they can communicate that way, and felt like they had to get in touch with each other. But they're over that hump now. But it was quite interesting, and being told that they couldn't go to Ranfurly. And I had one I talked the other day. They said Danella Hoare turned up in Ranfurly to get groceries for one of her friends because she couldn't get out to get her groceries. Well, you wouldn't give me more pig-headed than Danella Hoare, but everyone was doing everything for everyone else, but she felt she had to help out as well. So they felt pretty hopeless, a lot of the old ones, and I can probably speak because I know a few old ones around here. But while we're on that, everyone in Ranfurly did a great job. And Tim, the same at council, we were in communication all the time. He was on the radio, so was Robert all the time, and it was good because people felt connected. And I guess that's what our job is in these situations. We are there elected on behalf of the community to do that work, and we did it, and it's done well. So big ups to all you guys. Yeah, the business meeting this morning was a bit the same. I've been at a business meeting that people are talking about trying to get things going in our wee rural community. What a lot of people are trying to put the big ups and ups, and I brought this up at the meeting this morning. I've got a guy I sold cattle to the other day, and he rang me and said he can't afford to pay for them. So what's now starting to happen is banks are doing the same pressure on businesses and it's happening on farming. So one of the biggest industries that will be really going to be tough, and be interesting to see what the budget does. And we haven't looked on the budget other than to say there's an out of control Chinese missile flying over New York at the moment, is that it'll be interesting what banks do, and a lot of that money will be interest only, interest holidays, but it has to be paid back. And while a lot of people are wanting money to be spent and invested, it's going to actually be a big issue going forward with banks in wee rural towns. And that's a mental health issue will be a big issue, and I guess we've got to be prepared for that. Other than that, that's pretty much about it. Yeah, other than well done to everyone in there, and hopefully we get out of here and get rolling again. Technology's been good, but it's not as good as having meetings and catching up with people. So the sooner we can get out and about, the better. And that's about me.
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, I forgot. Oh, no, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stuart.
So any questions that anyone's got? But the thing is, I guess the concern and what's coming out of these meetings of economic development and tourism is what it looks like. And Sanchez sent a thing through the other day from New Zealand, they're operating at 2% of their normal business. So effectively, it's a long way back to get people into our region. And while it might be, and Tim alluded to it before, that everyone's looking at the depression and governments and councils, and every economic advisor on TV saying it's a government response and it's a council response to get going. There's also a lot of good businesses that may just need tax incentives. And I brought it up at the meeting this morning. There's a lot of people getting the wage subsidy. I know of a group over in another region that the family farms up after a subsidy, and they've been absolutely victimised and ridiculed out in their community for asking for the subsidy. And that's something that they're now regretting they did, because the neighbours have found out their farming family next door neighbour has been applying for money and they no need to. But they would have met the criteria, but that's probably hasn't been seen in our community for a while. And it's going to be a bit tricky. And this guy's going to make sure he pays it back, because he can't take the pressure anymore of having taking the money off the subsidy. So those wee things are sort of underlined, and I just hope that people, when we work through it, that they don't come to the fore and cause real divisions.
Yeah, quite correct. People are just going to remember that we're all in it together. It's not just one group of community, the whole community. Anything else, Stu?
I'll move my report be received. Someone wants to second that?
Linda, please.
I'll second it, Sue.
Numbers. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Aye. Against? Carried, thank you. Right. Now I'm on to the date of the next meeting, Rebecca. Am I?
Yes, that's correct, before we go into non-public.
Public. So the date of the next meeting will be?
It is, sorry.
25th of June, isn't it?
Thursday, the 25th of June.
25th of June. Right, thank you. Right. The someone.
That is now the end of the public section of the meeting. So I will end the live stream.
Thank you. So we need someone to resolve to exclude the public, please.
I'll move to close the closed session.
I'm second.
Mark Harris. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, thank you. Confidential status report.
Just pause, please.